a little bit about the issues that we are going to be discussing at the Grand Rally and advocating around. And then also we'll talk a little bit about what a typical visit with your member of Congress looks like. And Melissa is going to kind of give us the 101 on how to schedule that Hill visit. And at the end, we'll be able to take questions from everyone. So as Melissa said, if you have a question throughout our presentation, please go ahead and type that into the chat menu at the bottom, and we will certainly answer that at the end of the presentation.
Great, so let's get started. The importance of advocacy, let's start off with that. Advocacy, I think a lot of you are aware, and you probably are familiar with how to advocate to your member of Congress and talk about issues that you're passionate about. But for those of you who aren't, advocacy is really, it's the action of supporting a cause or a proposal. It's really, you know, the essence of empowering people to call on their leaders to take action on something. It's also about raising awareness of a cause to make lasting social change, especially on issues that policymakers may not be very familiar with. It's our job to introduce them to that issue and make them care about it. So in order to be successful in the end, what we have to do is we need to be able to shape public policy at not only the federal level, but the state and the local level as well. And what we're hoping to do with the Grand Rally is really have a large impact on the federal level. And so for the grand family community, and we should just preface, there are several names for grandparents and other relatives who raise children, also known as kinship care, but here at Generations United we use the term grand family. So you will hear us use that throughout, but know that there are other terms that you might use more so than we do. But for the grand family community, the advocacy is really, it's a critical part of the know about this group of people care for children. And so in order for us to be better at providing them with recommendations as to what they can do to help with policies and to help implement programs, we first need to share our stories with our elected officials, and we need to let them know what it really is like. Oftentimes, they can conceptually get it after we explain to them, but really to have those heartfelt stories is a critical piece of the work we do and the way that this issue and this group of individuals can have a lasting impact on members of Congress. So you don't have to be an expert on anything related to policy. You have to just be an expert at what you know. And what you know are the stories and the ways that you've been able to help grand families, or if you are a grandparent raising a child, you know what struggles you have, and you should take that to your member, explain to them, and tell them what would really be helpful to you, or what right now is a barrier to you getting help to raise these children. So what we've done, this is just, again, a kind of a 101 of what advocacy is and what we want to be able to do at the Grand Rally. So we've created a guide that I should have sent everyone, hopefully. It's called the Grand Rally Meeting with Your Members of Congress, and this is going to go over not only how to prepare you for your visit to Washington, if you've either been here many times or if you're new and this is your first time, and it will also go through the process of how you schedule a visit, what to expect in terms of security lines, how, will you see people running around the halls of Congress, and also just where do you eat, where can you go, and how do you navigate the metro system. This is kind of trying to be a guide of everything. So hopefully we've captured all of that, and at the end of this webinar we will go through the process of how to schedule a visit. But before we get to that, we did want to just quickly go over the overview of events for the Grand Rally when everyone will be here in a couple weeks.
All right. Well, the Grand Rally, as Melissa said, is just a wonderful opportunity for everyone to celebrate the achievements and the contributions of grandparents and other relatives that are raising children. And as Melissa said, it's also a wonderful opportunity to advocate for policies and programs that can be supportive to grandparents and other relatives raising children. So let's talk a little bit about what the Grand Rally is and what sort of events you can look forward to. From August through early September, state contacts will be holding mini training sessions either at home or on the road to the Grand Rally. And if you don't know who your state contact is, that's completely okay. If you visit the Grand Rally website, which is grandrally.org, you can get a list of their names and contact information, and they're organized by state. So you'll just look up your state and be able to find that information. And we strongly encourage you, if you have not gone onto the GrandRally website and registered, please do so right after this webinar to ensure that you can participate in all the really wonderful GrandRally events that are going to be happening on September 14th and 15th. So as you can see on the screen, Monday, September 12th from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., we're going to be having another webinar, and that's for individuals who cannot make it to Washington, D.C., and will instead be participating in our National Call-In Day. And again, please register on the website to receive information about this, and encourage anyone else that you know that is planning on joining us for the GrandRally to do so as well. Or if they're planning on doing the Call-In Day, I encourage them to register as well so they can get this information.
We also wanted to let everyone know that we haven't posted this yet, but we're going to be, everyone that's registered on the GrandRally website for the GrandRally will be eligible for a wonderful, amazing grab bag gift. So further incentive for you to go ahead and register on the site if you already haven't.
Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, I think you guys are going to be really excited about all the registration prizes that we're thinking up for you guys over here. And we'll be sending out information about that webinar for the call-in day to those who are registered. So again, please sign up. In addition to the webinar, there are going to be 2 opportunities to receive training on how to meet with your members of Congress, which are going to go over things like what to expect and some talking points to assist you in those meetings. And the first is on September 14th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. at the Hilton Hotel in Silver Spring, Maryland. And the second advocacy training is the day of the rally, September 15th, and that's at the Children's Defense Fund's headquarters, which is near the rally site by the Capitol, from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And these trainings are going to be identical. So please, during the registration process, you'll have an opportunity to choose which of the trainings you're going to be attending. So you don't have to go to both. You can go to one, and you'll be able to choose that at registration on the GrandRally website. In addition, there's some really great pre-rally activities that are happening on the 14th as well at the Hilton Hotel in Silver Spring, Maryland. And those include a free reception from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and a free celebratory dinner. That's right, free food and fun from 7 p.m. until approximately 10 p.m. for attendees. To join us for the dinner, again, you have to register on the GrandRally website, so please do so because we cannot wait to see you there and celebrate your incredible contributions and achievements. And then on Thursday, we'll be having, like I said, the advocacy training in the morning and some really exciting pre-rally entertainment on the west grassy front of the U.S. Capitol from noon to 1 p.m. And at 1 p.m., we're going to kick off the rally. Once that program is over, it will be time for participants to head out to your visits with members of Congress and share all of the knowledge that you're now going to have from these trainings and this webinar and the rally about policies and programs that are supportive of relative caregivers and the children that they care for. So today we are going to just provide a really brief overview of how to schedule these meetings with members of Congress, what to expect. And between that and your trainings in D.C., I guarantee you, you will be an expert advocator.
Excellent. Thanks, Allison. And we just wanted to mention once again that we're giving you an overview of the events. You will have all this information either on the bus ride to D.C. or you will get this information upon arrival. So we're just giving you a little preview, but don't feel that you have to have all this information on hand right now. All right, so let's move into overview of Capitol Hill visits.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Well, to start, let's talk a little bit about what you can expect when you arrive in Washington, D.C. As I'm sure many of you know, Washington attracts thousands of tourists throughout the year, so you can definitely expect to see crowds of people, often traveling in groups. In fact, there is actually a National Service Advocacy Day that's going on the same day as our GrandRally, so there will likely be many people on the Hill advocating for many different causes, and that's perfectly normal. That's a pretty normal day on the Hill. So it's kind of exciting and something to expect. You might also see professional photographers and camera persons that are capturing the events throughout the day, so please be advised that you may be indirectly filmed while attending or participating your meetings on Capitol Hill. So when you enter a Senate or a House office building, you're definitely going to be going through some metal detectors, and this is for your protection and the protection of your members. So just be prepared for that. Sometimes that can cause, you know, an additional waiting time before your meeting, so you want to make sure you're giving yourself enough time to get to the meeting. And we just want to stress that they're from the rally site to the House and Senate office buildings, you want to make sure that you give yourself adequate time. It is quite a bit of a walk. It's a couple of blocks. So not only do you want to give yourself time, but you want to make sure that if you need a cab or other things that you can schedule that. I think for most people, if you give yourself enough time, the walk should be absolutely fine. But again, you want to make sure that you plan this out in advance to be sure that you attend the meeting on time. So if you are traveling from a House to a Senate office, they are actually on opposite sides of the street. So if you're going from a Senate to a House office, then it's going to take about approximately 30 minutes to get from one to the other. If you're moving from an office on the same side of Congress, for instance, a House meeting to another House meeting, then you'll take approximately 15 minutes. And you also want to remember to allow time to get through security, as we mentioned, when you get through the building. And certainly if you have any mobility issues, you also want to allow some more time for that. We also want to stress that when you meet with your members, it's always wonderful to look presentable, and we certainly do think you should, but we also want you to look your best and wear what is comfortable for you. Certainly bring comfortable shoes for all that walking that you're going to be doing. And other things that you should consider bringing would be a camera, certainly a schedule of your arranged appointments, and if you have anything written out about a personal story or information about a program that you work with, or statistics that you think are really impressive from your state to share during your Hill visits, please bring that along too. We're going to be providing you with some information to leave behind with your members of Congress, but certainly if you have anything that you think would be impactful to share during your meeting, bring that with you. And also on your Hill Day guide, actually called your Meeting with Your Members of Congress packet, if you could refer to page 7 through 11, that has more information on what to expect during your visit to Washington, D.C. and with your members of Congress. And also page 12 has some great information about information for visitors who have disabilities. So please take a look at those pages in your packet when you get a chance.
Excellent. Thanks for that overview, Allison. Let's talk a little bit about the issues that we're going to be talking about at the rally. First off, we just want to preface that there's a lot of detail missing from this, but what we wanted to give you was a sense of what we're talking about, and we will have a lot more information available for you at the rally. We're still kind of hashing out some of the details to make sure it's relevant because Congress will be in session a week before the rally. We want to make sure that we have all of the relevant information and we're up to date and can be, again, the most exciting we can on these issues. So the first thing, what do we want you to talk about? First off, we want you to share your story. We want to have you talk about if you're a caregiver raising children, we want you to tell your story if you're comfortable with it. If you run a program or you interact with caregivers, we want you to tell about your experience and really introduce them to the topic. And then after that, we've highlighted 4 key areas that are extremely relevant right now in this fiscal climate and this Congress, however you want to describe it. We're all under a crunch, and these are really 4 ways in which we feel that our message could be heard and relevant to what's being talked about in Congress now. The first one is Social Security. I'm going to put that on hold for a second. We do have a slide to go into a bit more detail on that since that is a complex issue, but the prelude is that Social Security is a critical support for grand families. It's often one of the programs and funding sources that grand families use to help raise these children since they didn't expect to raise a family for a second time. This is critical to them, and we want to make sure that it's protected and not cut. The second issue we have, again, we want to protect critical programs from budget cuts. Right now, Congress is looking at ways to cut our spending through both, discretionary spending and our military spending. And what we want to make sure is that we talk about how critical these programs are to grandparents and to children and to other caregivers to really highlight why these are not and should not be on the chopping block. The third one is a general message of we want to strengthen federal programs to reach more children raised by relative caregivers who are keeping them out of costly foster care. So some examples of this are the SNAP program, also known as food stamps to some. There's also school lunch programs. TANF is very critical to caregivers, and there, again, there are a lot of others, but those are just to name a few that are being discussed right now in terms of these budget cuts. And then the last issue we want to talk about is we want to encourage members and their staff to support research and data surveys to help identify services for grand families. You know, we want to see the supports they need, how many children came into their care, and what caregivers know about available resources. Research like this will help point, you know, really pinpoint what can be done to either improve the programs that are already available, or, you know, what information would help us provide better programs to caregivers and other relatives raising children. So again, there's a lot of detail missing here. There will be a lot more at the rally. We have a very long list of other concerns that caregivers have raised to us, and that will be included in the packet. But these 4 key bullets are really meant to help us all have a unified voice at the end of the day. Since there are other groups that are on the Hill having meetings at the same time, we want to make sure that we can at least all come around together on some central points, in addition to telling each of our individual unique stories and some of the programs and the issues that we all face that are a little different, each, you know, community to community. So that's an overview of those issues. And as I said, I'm going to jump into Social Security now and give you just a bit more context. This is actually an issue that Generations United has taken a leadership role on this past Congress to protect and really improve the adequacy of it so it can meet its obligations to current recipients and also make sure it's there for future generations that are paying into it and hope to have this program. So just, you know, a key statistic that we have highlighted up here is that more than 6.5 million children receive part of their family income from Social Security. So in that 6.5 million, that is not only children who directly receive it because they have a caregiver or a parent that has passed away or is disabled. That's also capturing the number of children that live in grandparent-headed households and receive money from their grandparents or other caregivers receiving Social Security to help pay for them to go to school, to eat food, you know, all the basic essentials of life. So because it's not just the 3.4 million that directly receive it, it's also that, you know, the 3.4 million that receive it from their other family members that help them lead their day-to-day lives. So, you know, the message we really try and hone in on to members is that it's more than a retirement program. It's there for families. One group that we really highlight is that it's a safeguard for families when tragedy strikes. As we all know, grandparents and other relatives step into family situations for a variety of reasons, and most times people unexpectedly find themselves in a situation where they're caring for children and they never thought that they would again, so they don't have the savings to have them prepared for taking on that, you know, that additional financial need in the family. So oftentimes they turn to Social Security and they use that money to help raise, you know, 2 to 4 to 6 people, and that's asking a lot because it's not a lot of money. So even just another statistic, even with Social Security benefits, 22% of grandparent-headed families are poor. But if you were to take that and take Social Security out of that figure, it would actually jump up to about 59%. So again, we can see right there that it's really helping a lot of families meet their day-to-day needs. Some groups in general, you probably have heard say that Social Security needs to be cut to make sure that it's there for our children in the future. And really what we say is that it needs to be strengthened, not cut. It needs to be strengthened for people now that are going into Social Security benefits, and it needs to be strengthened for future generations to have that there as well. Again, Social Security is a very complex issue. This is, again, just a little preview at it, and we will have adequate information for you to give to your members of Congress. And don't ever feel like you need to be an expert. We provide materials for you to give the information, and always feel free to refer to us, all of the co-sponsor organizations, as people that members of Congress can follow up with if they have additional questions. Great. So now let's move into what a visit looks like, and I'm going to turn that over to Allison now.
Great. So when you walk into a typical member of Congress's office, you'll often see a staffer who is sitting at a desk. And when you walk into that office, it's a great idea to introduce yourself to that staffer, let them know that you have an appointment and who that appointment is with, which is a great reason to have that little sheet of paper with you all about your meeting and who you're meeting with. And often you may end up waiting a few minutes, particularly if there's a lot of meetings going on or events scheduled that day. And also, don't be surprised if your meeting occurs in a hallway or even in the middle of the office. If many meetings are scheduled at once, it's a busy day, these meetings can occur anywhere. And I just want to stress that you should not be discouraged if this happens. This is very normal, and your meeting can be just as meaningful if it happens in a hallway versus a table. It's really about you and what you bring to the meeting that is important. But many visits will typically take place somewhere in their office, in a meeting room, at a typical table. And when you sit down with your staffer, or if you're lucky and you get a congressperson, you'll introduce yourself and outline what you've come to talk about, the issues that you've come to speak about. And you'll explain also that you're here as a part of the Grand Rally and explain what the Grand Rally is. And then you're going to take that next time to discuss your personal story. What's your connection to this? Why are you here today? And that's a really important time. That's what they're here to, that's what the member and the staffer really want to know. They want to hear about your personal experience and what it's been like for you. That's how they communicate with their constituents. That's how they learn about challenges and things that they can fix, public policy-wise. So that's an important time for you to share that information with them. And remember not to be nervous, because you really are the expert here about your life and the challenges that you face. So they are learning from you. Then you'll go a little bit into the issues that you've come to discuss, and we will certainly be providing you assistance at the training sessions on policies and programs that support relative caregivers and the children they care for, so that you're very, very prepared for this part of the meeting. And at the conclusion of the meeting, typically we just like to thank whoever you've met with and leave behind any materials that you think would be helpful to them. And again, we'll be providing you with a leave behind packet at these trainings, so you'll actually have something physical to give them at the end of the meeting. And then in addition, feel free to give them your contact information so they can get a hold of you after the meeting. But you can also mention that Generations United and the other co-sponsors of the Grand Rally are national organizations, and that we work very hard on grand family policies and programs that are important to you, and we're a local DC resource if these policymakers or staff have any questions.
Excellent. Great. So we've given you a preview of what you'll talk about, what the Grand Rally will look like, and what to expect in your Hill visit. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do you schedule a Hill visit? All right. So first off, we're going to go through the process of how you do it if you are unsure maybe who all of your members of Congress are. So there's a great resource that you may or may not be familiar with, and it's called congress.org. On congress.org, there is a field on the right-hand side that says find your lawmakers, tell them what you think. And this is where you can type in your zip code, and you can find out who your members of Congress are. So I'm going to go ahead and do mine, and then press go. And then we're going to go to the next screen, and that's going to show me who all of my members of Congress are, both from the state and local level all the way to the federal. And so what I can do is I can click on my member, say I want to schedule a visit with my Senator Tom Harkin. I can click on his name, and then a screen will pop up, and it will have his contact information. I can click over there, and I can see his DC phone number, and that's the one I will call to put in a scheduling request. It's that simple if you don't know who your member is. Let's say you do know who your member is, but you just don't know the DC number. Another way you can do it is type in, you can Google, Yahoo, whatever your search method is, you can type in their name and then go to their website. And there are usually two ways on their website that you can find out how to contact them. So the first is at the top. You can see where my cursor is. There's a Contact Tom tab. And then if I wanted to scroll to the bottom, they usually, almost every member will have a map of their state, and they will also have a listing for each of their offices, both in DC and back home in their districts. So I can also see my senator's phone number for DC on his website as well. So those are the two methods. If you do or don't know who your member are, feel free to use both of those. Okay, so let me jump back to the How to Schedule screen. Excellent. So the first method, as I said, is you can go to congress.org and you can type in your zip code, and that will get you the first one, or you can go to their own personal website. When you go to the website and you have their DC phone number, what you want to do is you want to call and make the appointment. So you're going to call the DC office, because that is where their schedulers are located, and the schedulers are the ones who actually make the appointments and get all the logistics coordinated with both the member's schedule and with other staff members that handle issues relevant to the one you want to talk about. So what you'll want to do is call the number, and then you'll get connected to the main front desk, and you'll say, "Hi, my name is Melissa Ness. I'm with Generations United. I was calling to see if I could set up an appointment with Senator Harkin on September 15th when I'll be in D.C. for the 4th National GrandRally for grandparents and other relatives raising children. I wanted to see what the best method is to do that in your office." What we've done to make this even simpler again for everyone is we have in our Hill Visit Guide on page, on page 6 is where we have just a draft script that you could use if you feel more comfortable reading off a sheet of paper. So really, again, you want to say your name, that you're a constituent, what you'll be in town for, and when you'll be in town, and just ask and say, "I'd like to schedule a visit with my member," or if they can't meet, "I would like to meet with one of their staff members to talk about these issues that are important to grand families, and I wanted to know the best way to do that." And the reason we want you to ask the best way to do that is because there are 3 means in which members receive scheduling requests, and each office has a preferred method in which they receive these. And if you use the system that works best for that office, your request will have an even higher likelihood of being accepted and approved faster. So ask and they'll either tell you, "Oh, we prefer an email, and here's the email address you can send the request to." They might say that we prefer it to be received via fax, and then you can get that information. If it's not easy for you to submit a fax, please let them know, and they will give you probably an email or a phone number that can help direct you with the information that you need to give to put in the request via an alternative route. And then the last option is on the phone. Some people might say that, "Oh, we prefer to receive those on the phone." And then if that's the case, you would just say, "Could you go ahead and transfer me to the scheduler so I could put in the request?" So again, those are the 3 ways. It's all very simple. All you need to do is just find out the best way and do it as such. And again, not only do we have a script for you on the phone, but we do have a draft template for either an email or a fax to submit your request. So you can feel free to copy paste that information either into an email or a Word document, and that can just fill in the templates, and then that can be ready to send. So hopefully we've made this as easy as possible for you. So let's say you've done all that and you've submitted a request. What do you do next? Well, I would like you to email me so that I can help you keep track of the visit request. So my email is on the screen. For those who don't have are not in front of a computer, my email is mness@gu.org. So once you submitted it, email me, let me know which office you submitted the request and for what time. A lot of them would like you to suggest a time, and we're looking for anywhere between 2:30 and 5:30 on Thursday, September 15th. Again, all this information is in the guide, but I just wanted to say it again for those that don't have it right in front of them. And so once you send me the names, I'm going to keep track of it, and I will keep checking back in with you to see if you've actually had that confirmed. And after, say, a week and you have not had it confirmed, I will actually help you as best I can to get that confirmed and communicate with the office. We have a handful of contacts in a number of the offices here in D.C., and so we can check in with people we know and try and get that confirmed for you. And once everything's confirmed, you're ready for your Hill visit on Thursday the 15th on the 4th National GrandRally Day. What we wanted to preface is that each of you have a state contact in your states, and those state contacts will be scheduling joint Senate visits. So what we're trying to achieve is to have every member of your state that will be in town for the GrandRally do a visit together in the Senate meeting so that you can have everyone ensured that they get a meeting. Now those will be larger groups. So if you're a state contact and you're on the phone, what we suggest is that in your request, you give a ballpark figure of how many people you think might come. And that can help ensure that you have an actual conference room that you meet in, and so that grandparents and other relatives don't have to stand the whole time, because often these meetings can go 20 to 30 minutes, and we want to make it comfortable for you. And the only reason for the Senate visits that they can't get you a conference room is often that you never prefaced in the request how many people were going to show up, or if anyone had a disability or a mobility issue that required them to sit. So again, if you do know of any of that information, please include it in the request so that we can make sure it's the most comfortable experience for you as possible. So let's say you are coming from a state and you don't know who your state contact is, but you'd like to reach out to them and see if they're scheduling the visits, just to make sure, or to see if you should go ahead and do it yourself. You can go to, as we've mentioned before, the GrandRally website, www.grandrally.org, and on the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of pages you can go to, and you can click down to state contacts, which I already have, and each of the states has contact information and a name listed. And those are the individuals that are the state contacts for your state. So feel free to reach out to them if you have not already been communicating with them. They'd love to hear from you and know that you're coming. Now let's say you go to a state, let's see, like me, I'm from Iowa and no one's listed. So what I would do is I would go ahead and I would email Yvonne at grandrally.yvonne2011@yahoo.com, and I just would say, hi, I'm Melissa. I'm going to come to the Grand Rally. I noticed on the website that I didn't see a state contact listed. I just wanted to check and make sure before I schedule a visit with my senators. Yvonne is very quick and fast, and she'll get back to you as soon as possible, and she'll let you know if there is a state contact that we just haven't uploaded on the website, or if we don't have anyone listed and you should go ahead. So that's a resource that's available to you. And again, you can always email me and I can communicate with you as well if you're having trouble hearing back from Yvonne. Great, so that's the resource that's available to you. And what's the next step? The next step we're asking is that you schedule meetings with your members of Congress. Your joint Senate visits will be scheduled, as I said, by your state contacts. But if you would like to schedule a visit with your representative, we are asking that you go ahead and schedule that on your own. And again, once you've done so, please communicate that information back to me so I can help track that and make sure that you actually get a visit scheduled and confirmed when you're in town. We're asking that everyone, it's short notice, but we're asking that everyone at least put in a request before September 7th, which is, I think, next week, and that's really soon. But again, we've provided you a script, so hopefully this can just be really easy. It just requires you to call the number and get the information on how to submit it. So we're asking you to submit that all by September 7th, and then, again, email me as soon as possible, and then I'll communicate with you one-on-one, and we'll try and get everything lined up. Great. So what we want to do now is open it up to questions. And the first I'm going to do is I'm going to do it through the chat feature on, on the webinar widget. So again, if you are on your computer, you can go down to the chat box at the bottom of your widget, or there's also a question box, and you can type in your question right now, and we'll take those first. And then what I'll do is I'll unmute all of the phone lines, and we'll take questions on the phone after that. Great. All right, so we have the first question that came in. Someone asked, what if I can't attend the Grand Rally the day of, but I would still like to take part? That's an excellent question. If you would like to take part in the Grand Rally, but you're not able to come, what we've done is we've set up a phone number that we're in the midst of doing right now, and we're going to have a 1-800 number you can call into, and you can say the same message that people are going to be saying in person to their members on the phone to them. You can tell them about the important issues we're talking about, what we want them to support, and ways that they can be an advocate for grandparents and other relatives raising children. So we will have that information. That will all be available on the Grand Rally website, or again, you can also email me and I can send you that information. Again, the phone number is being created right now, and so are the helpful materials that we will produce for you. And so we will send that to you once everything is said and done, and that should probably be next week.
And as a reminder, we're also having a webinar upcoming on the 13th for the National Call-In Day. So please get on that grandrally.org website, register, and you will get information about that webinar and all the other events and things that are happening. And also, please just take some time, look over the grandrally.org website. Has a lot of fantastic information on there that we tried to provide for you to make it as easy as possible to get here and enjoy yourself and advocate and really celebrate.
Great. Thanks, Allison. Okay, it looks like that's all we have at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and unmute the phone lines and open it up to people on the phone. Okay, it looks like everyone, I think, is unmuted. So does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask on the phone?
Is this Melissa?
This is.
Hi, Melissa. This is Janice from New Jersey.
Hi, Janice.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thanks. I have not heard from anyone in my state to date that wants to attend the rally. So far, I only have several grandmas from my support group that are going, which is fine. But I'm just wondering, as far as scheduling the Hill visits, then do I just let them know that there are 4 of us that will be at the visit, or do I wait a while longer?
I would go, Janice, I would go ahead and give them maybe like a wide range. I'd say, why don't you hold a space for 4 to 10 people?
4 to 10, okay.
Yeah, so I give them something so that they can at least reserve a room that has plenty of seats rather than not enough.
I emailed both my senator and our congressman to schedule visits as per the request last week. I haven't heard back from them yet, so I'm planning on following up to find out if they can schedule anything yet, or would you prefer to do that?
No, I would say go ahead and you should do the first round. So
Okay.
after you send the request, go ahead and follow up with them. I will just add, too, that this is their last week back in the States, and then they're going to come back to D.C., so there is oftentimes a bit of communication lag between their staff and the member according to their scheduling preferences. So that might be part of the reason why it hasn't been confirmed yet.
Okay, fine.
After you've, yes, absolutely. After you schedule it, give it a few days or, up to a week at the most, and just call back in and say, hi, I scheduled a visit about a week ago. This is the time and date. This is my name. Could you just check to see if any progress has been made on confirming it? And then hopefully they'll give you the information. They'll either tell you the person you should contact directly, or they'll patch you through to that person at that time and let you know. And so then let's say after you've done that, you still haven't heard back in a couple of days, let me know, and then I'll go ahead and I can check in with those offices and see what I can get confirmed.
Very good. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for already scheduling or putting in the request. That's fabulous.
You're welcome.
Great. Does anyone else on the phone have any questions?
Looks like we have one in the question box. So let's see. How can we know if our representative is knowledgeable on the subject and or is actively helping? Great question. So there are a couple of resources. The first is their website. I would go ahead and look up your member of Congress, go to their website, and oftentimes they don't break down issues the way we would like, and we would love to have an issue tab that's dedicated to caregiving, but they might not have it. So what you can do is you can go to ones that relate to that issue. If it's a certain program you're curious about, if it's a nutrition piece, you could go to the education or the nutrition tab, or if it's just a general question, you could look at both the children's, youth, or the older adult senior tab and see what they have on that. The other thing, too, is you could email us and we can check and see, since we do more one-on-one work with these members while they're in D.C., we might also have a better pulse on what they're doing and where their stance is. And so you can, again, my email is throughout the document, but just again, it's mness@gu.org, and feel free to email me and we can give you that information as well. And I'll just say, too, that you might have done visits back in the state and often felt like the staff member that you met with didn't quite understand the issues as well. In D.C., the staff are a bit more focused on certain issues, and oftentimes you'll find that they do know a lot more about grand family issues and kinship issues in general than you might have expected, just because they do deal with this on a national level, and it's in their portfolio, and they don't have as large of a portfolio as the people you met with back in their state. So you might be pleasantly surprised that they might know a lot about what you're talking about already.
Yes, and as Melissa was saying, typically the staff members in an office, certainly if they're a legislative assistant, are broken down often by topic areas. Some may work specifically on children's issues. Some may work specifically on older adult issues. So a lot of times they are experts in a certain area, and certainly when you're scheduling your meeting and you're asking to meet with either the congressperson or a staff member, you know, explaining what issue you're coming to talk about is very helpful to them so that they can make sure that they connect you with the right person who knows the most about your issue in their office.
Excellent. So we just had another question come through on the question box, and someone just wanted to have us do an overview of what we talked about with Janice because they lost the audio. So what Janice had asked was that she'd already scheduled a visit, and she wanted to know, she only knew of about 4 people that were for sure going to be in these meetings that she's scheduling in the Senate, and she asked how many should she ballpark for the member or their staff member as they're trying to get a room reserved for them. And I said, go ahead and round up. If you're looking at something less than 10, just go ahead and say up to 10 people or up to 15 people. That's about a rough estimate size for a conference room, and that way they can make sure that you have the room. Oftentimes, too, a lot of staff have access to larger rooms, too. So let's say you're looking at having 30 people from your state or more. Well, definitely be sure, again, to round up and try and capture as many as you think might be coming, just in the off chance that might be the case and you don't want to have everyone stand in the hallway. It's always better to give them, a range of how many people might come than to not let them have that information at all. It's a courtesy that we all try and extend to the staff in having them meet with us. And then another thing, too, that we talked about was, so I put in a request and I still haven't heard back. What should I do? So I suggest you go ahead and do a follow-up yourself and ask and just say, I submitted a request a couple days ago or about a week ago, and I wanted to check on the status of it, and say your name, when you scheduled the visit, and what time. And then what they'll do is they'll either patch you through to the person that is scheduling that meeting, or they'll give you, if it's an email or whatever the means are, they'll give you information to follow up directly with that person. And let's say even at that point, after you've done your own follow-up, you still haven't heard anything, let me know, and then I'm going to do what I can to try and follow up with people I know from that office and try and make something, get confirmed before you come to D.C. on the 15th. So I hope that helps. Does anyone else have any questions, either on the phone or, again, in the chat or question box feature of the webinar widget?
Hi, Melissa.
Yes.
This is Linda from Rochester, New York.
Hi, Linda.
I have a question. Since New York is a big state, and our group comes from upstate New York, so we'll be coming in the night before. The other state contact is in New York City, and they're coming in the day of the rally. So we're trying to work out some solution with these two groups, because my group needs to be out of D.C. at least by 3 o'clock to get back home in time enough so I won't have to pay for a bus for the next day.
Sure.
We are upstate, so we're way past New York City. We're like going up towards Canada, okay? Yeah, we are, yeah. So we have one visit scheduled with one of our senators at 11 o'clock in the morning. And so what I'm trying to do is talk with the other state person in New York State to perhaps we sort of split up things, maybe because we have 3 senators. So maybe some of their folks can go in the afternoon, and we could probably I'm looking for us to at least do 2 in the morning, and they could do 2 in the afternoon.
Sure. There's nothing wrong with that. What I would just say is when you've scheduled your visit, just give a heads up to that staffer and let them know that there are a number of people coming from New York, and that they may have another group, and that just will let them know that there's another batch of people that want to do it, so that they don't get the two confused and assume that you both are talking about the same group of people visiting. So just if you let them know that there's another group of individuals that want to do visits. And yeah, that often happens, and I don't think that that's a unique thing at all for larger states that are closer to D.C. They often are able to bring a lot more people than people from either the Midwest or the West Coast, and so they oftentimes are used to juggling with several groups talking about the same thing, just because scheduling logistics it's somewhat challenging to have everyone fit in the same room.
Okay. All right.
Great,
thank you.
That's a great question, Linda.
Great, Linda, and if you could send us that information on your visit, if you could send it to Melissa, that would be wonderful. We're so excited that you have already made contact with them.
Yep, and I will send you that information.
Thank you so much.
The other plug I'll do is just another reason to send me your information is oftentimes you have so many things you're bringing to D.C. you might forget the information about your visit. I'm going to have all that information printed out and will be available both at the GrandRally and I'll have a copy on hand too, so you can always find me. But we'll have that information so that if for any reason you lose it or you forget a piece of it, we can have that there for you so you can just quickly come check in with us and go on to your visit.
Okay, great.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll do one more last check. Does anyone else have any questions they wanted to ask at this time, either again on the phone or in the chat or a question feature on the webinar widget? Okay, it doesn't look like we have any. So we just, again, want to thank everyone for joining in on today's webinar on how to make the most of your meeting with your member of Congress. We hope we've given you a lot of information that's useful. Hopefully I sent everyone the packet that you received before this webinar. If you did not, please again email me. My email, one last time, is mness@gu.org, and let me know, and I'll go ahead and send that to you. That is also available on the GrandRally website. But please use this. This is meant to help you and make it easier. We know that you're doing a lot of things to prepare for your trip here, so we want to just do one last thing to make things easier for you. So please use this, and again, if you have questions along the way, always feel free to contact us, and we're very excited and looking forward to seeing everyone in just about 2 weeks. It's crazy it's so close. So thanks again, everyone. We hope you have a great afternoon and everyone is safe on the East Coast after the hurricane.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we look forward to talking to everyone again soon.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.